Good afternoon, or practically early evening. Joyful Hermit here, and I'm trying another video. I haven't been pleased with my last couple of ones. Sometimes I just wonder, is the Lord pleased with this? And then like yesterday, I was praying that, wondering, is this wrong? Then I read about St. Paul, and he was so strong in saying that he would continue no matter what to share and to help people know things or be prepared or whatever, share his experiences with Christ. And I'm sure he did also aspects of his life. So I may as well give it another try, because somebody who's been watching my little vlogs has also reminded me that Jesus will do something if it's not meant, not right. And it's humbling, because I don't always get my words out that well, and sometimes I think, do I just look like some weirdo? But and some of the things that I might share are maybe atypical, but not to everyone. And I have some friends, one in particular, who thinks demystify mysticism. How are people ever going to be open to more themselves? The Lord once said to me, this isn't for me, this is for anyone. But it won't happen in the same ways, but union with Christ is for all of us. And so I think a lot of it is faith. And anyway, I had been dealing with this back surgery situation. I'm on my side now because it's just too hard for me being on my back. That makes the stenosis worse. So fetal position's better. That's why I haven't been sitting on the sofa, because that makes my stenosis problem worse. And I'm doing all I can to stop my legs from going numb. Because, well, this is the latest. The more I keep praying for deeper conversions, the more things just have been happening in my life that I know that this prayer is powerful, to ask the Lord for deeper conversion. And in faith, just go with God's flow. And it can mean temporal things that we must change, but also spiritual things. So I'm not even sure what I left off with all this, but I had been having a resistance to the surgery, and some of what the surgeon staff, I only met the surgeon once for maybe 10 minutes, and it's all been his staff, and most of the contact has been with his nurse, who I've never met. And she did take a couple of answers that I gave her with explanations, totally took it way further than she ever needed to, and I think now really knew, because as it turned out, she had sent my pain doctor messages, saying I was misusing medication, and just, bizarre. So he was all upset, and also had even made more extreme the question and the answers I had given last week, in which they sent me to another doctor's condition. Surgeon won't operate on you unless you go. So that doctor was like, what are you doing here? So he called them and said, no, she's not going to harm herself. So it was bizarre. The whole thing was so bizarre. And then she made it even more bizarre by sending my pain doctor a message that was a total lie of what I had ever even said in my explanation of people with severe pain over time, and just how, thanks be to God, I didn't bring up how when in great suffering, the devil can really do a number on you too. I mean, you can go in, he preys upon any time we're weak, and suffering makes us weak. But I haven't really had too many problems. I used to, earlier on, he would manifest. The devil would manifest when I would be in a pain siege sometimes. And, the first time it just scared me to death, But I learned how to deal with it. My spiritual father at the time, and then just reading the saints and the various mystics and how they deal with these situations. Like, always keep a rosary nearby, or have it under my pillow, or it even got to the point where the Holy Spirit or my guardian angel would help when the devil was even like having me paralyzed, just unable to move. And when he was still manifesting in some form, dogs, nasty dog, or like sitting on my chest so I couldn't, even sit up, or paralyzed, it was like my angel would, and the Holy Spirit within my mind would show me holding out my rosary or even shaking it, even though I couldn't move. But this was all going on in my inner senses, and it would immediately send the devil away. This phase, the devil is more devious, and it requires a lot more discerning of spirits and just in everyday life. And I think that's been part of the problem with what I consider sort of chaos for about the last 4 weeks. This has been going on for the last 4 weeks. 2 weeks ago I was to have been operated on, but odd things just kept happening to get in the way. And so anyway, I'd gotten a call Monday while I happened to be talking to Dr. H. I've reconnected with him. He's very gifted with the paranormal, and I think he must be 73 now or something. So reconnected. So we were talking on the phone, and he was sort of working out, because one of my other conditions is that I had to agree to go to this certain osteopa and have him order a very strong medication with could have terrible side effects. And he wasn't even doing it ethically. You're supposed to go through a process if someone's going to be given that drug. And, I sign off a consent form and have been informed of all the side effects and everything. And this young man was just going to do it over the phone. And I really didn't want that medication, because I know that there's at least 2 others, and one doesn't have nearly the side effects. And I just wanted to be able to have the option to go where I felt confident with someone who wasn't incompetent. So I already got an appointment for Tuesday, but I thought, well, my next Tuesday, my surgery was set for this Thursday, for tomorrow. But I got a call from this nurse to call her back, and I did, but she didn't call me back then. But it was an irony that at the very time that Dr. H and I were talking over my options, and he said, just play along with them, agree to whatever they say so you can get the surgery. And then a couple of weeks later, just cancel that medication, cancel the appointment. Just don't go, and go to the other place. And I'd even said, and if they would say take this certain drug and had reasons for not the one with the lesser side effects, then I would. I'm not opposed to following along and being compliant, but not when things aren't being done correctly or even ethically. So, and then when I realized that the nurse, who's always very sweetly talking, very sweet, never met her, and I thought she was an ally, and that I could tell her, what mistakes were being made. And at one point she'd even said, well, we'll get you into someone else. Well, they never did. And at one point I said, could you find out from the surgeon if he has changed his mind? Because another PA had said my surgery would not be successful because of my bones. The surgeon hadn't said that. He said it went optimum, but I thought, well, maybe he's changed his mind. But she would never ask. She would tell me she would ask, and then she would say, well, no, I forgot to, or I didn't. And just too many inconsistencies. That's one thing when you're discerning spirits. And also, God really doesn't want us to be deceptive either. So I wasn't fully convinced that I should just go along with them, but I thought, well, we'll see. In my heart, I had told the Lord then, after talking with Dr. H, that perhaps I have been the problem. Maybe something in me was resisting and causing some kind of turmoil. I didn't know, but I was willing to offer that, maybe, and that I would fully agree. And Dr. H and I even talked about even if I only had 10% chance with the surgery of it being successful, may as well try it. And I had said, and then if it comes out worse and I have more suffering and this all unfolds, then that's what the Lord's given me. So I was fine then and great and, making plans, and then went to the pain doctor the next morning, and he hit me with all this stuff that this nurse had sent him, and he was harsh. He was like, and then I explained to him, and he did say something very good. He said, you've got to stop talking, commenting. And it is true. But Dr. H, who's known me for like 33 years, and although we haven't seen each other except this past winter, we did again after 30 years, 28 years, I guess, but we kept in touch all this time. And he experienced some amazing things with me. So he's witnessed a lot. So, and it was by the grace of God. There he was in a small town in Southern California where I happened to be, and who would ever know that there'd be somebody adept in the paranormal? And he was reared Catholic, so I wasn't Catholic at the time, but a lot of things that were going on were in that direction. So anyway, the pain doctor was very upset with me, and I'd said, well, that Dr. H had also said, that I forget that other people aren't in my wavelength. They don't perceive, and they don't have the spiritual sense that I'm in. He sometimes said I'm a tweener, between worlds, he says. But, and I do forget. And then, especially if I start trusting someone, I think they get it when he says, no, they don't. They don't. Trust me. And he's, been a clinical psychologist for years and years. So he's got lots of experience with what people are like. And I said, yes, I realize that, I just keep forgetting. So he says, filter everything. Maybe that's why I decided to be more hesitant. Maybe I shouldn't be doing my videos, but, so we'll try, we'll see. So then I got a phone call when he left the room. We then started working out, what post-operative pain medications, how I'd manage the pain. And he also warned me about heat and how I could get a terrible infection. I'd have just a huge incision in my back. And so he left the room, and this nurse happened to call me back. Then I answered, and I was excited because I was all set. I was going to do everything that they wanted. And I said, oh, I'm glad you called back, and because, this doctor and I are working out all the medications for post-op, and next I'm going to be calling, and even called this PA doctor and his last name, because I figured just go along with it. That's what they considered him or wanted to call him. Why should I care if they were misrepresenting, medical misrepresentation? That's what Dr. H had thought. Just go along with it and see what happens, see if it opens up more. So I said, yes, I'm getting ready to call him, to have him order this reclass, and to set up an appointment with him. And I'm so grateful for everyone, and looking forward to the surgery, getting everything ready. And she says, oh, well, call me back later. And I said, well, you wanted to talk to me about the surgery, and the doctor's out of the room right now. And I said, we're getting everything set. And I said, is it all on? Because I noticed that my vitamin C level was high, which can be often happen in one of the tests I'd recently had. I said, is that a problem with the surgery? She said, no. And I said, so the surgery's on then? And she says, no, it's off indefinitely. And I asked her, well, why? And so later then, and she said, well, no. I said, so he permanently is not going to operate on me? And she said, yes. And I said, well, but the doctor Friday got everything straightened out with you. And I said, and I'm meeting the second condition that you set, that I go along and have the medication ordered ahead of time and set up an appointment. She said, well, and talking with the surgeon, and she still a very, very sweet voice. And she says, he just has decided he isn't going to operate on you, and for many reasons, and various comments, she said. So, and then she said, and we know that you have a second opinion appointment with Dr. So-and-so, and go ahead and keep it, because that's your right to get a second opinion. That was the first time I've ever spoken to her out of too many phone calls that her voice wasn't quite as sweet. So I realized that had ticked them off, and was dealing with a lot of ego or something. But anyway, I said, well, I'm very sorry that this hasn't worked out, because I was, felt that I had done everything that you were requiring. But I said, I'm sorry, it was so complicated. And she hung up. The nurse came with all of my scripts for all the different medications. And I said, it's called off. And what? I said, yes. And she says, oh, well, just for a while. And somebody else is operating on someone. I said, no, permanently. She said, this is a first. And she waited for the pain doctor. And boy, he wasn't happy at all then. But I'm used to these situations just turning quickly. In different times of my life, and I actually felt a peace in me, but the pain doctor wasn't happy at all, and he says, well, we're probably going to have to go out of this hospital system to another system. And he even said a few things, like, well, the devil can deceive, and the devil's the accuser, and I just, tried to be meek, because what was I going to do? And I did send him an apology note, and did also said, I bear all responsibility for this, and asked him to forgive me for anything that I might have done that caused this. However, I can tell you guys that I just viewed it as God, there I had fully capitulated, fully surrendered, and was going to go in. And even that morning, the verse kept coming to mind, like a lamb to the slaughter, like the sheep before a shearer. But I then thought, he spoke not a word, he opened not his mouth. And I thought, I have opened my mouth. I voiced my upset or concerns with the osteoPA to the surgeon's nurse, that he was making mistakes, serious ones, with diagnosing wrongly that I had something I did not, and prolonging getting more tests, and then not knowing that the person was supposed to fast before the test, and so it had skewed results. Anyway, but oh no. So I think I've learned that lesson pretty strongly, because I don't know if I am going to have a surgeon. I do have this backup appointment, but he's a doctor who is in the same neurosurgical group. And so I'm expecting to walk in there and, not having such a good go of it. And I've already decided I'll learn just to keep quiet. And I was reminded of that in my vow of suffering that I've been repeating every day. Respond in love, no matter what. Just respond in love. So when I've read reviews of this other surgeon, and he's known to be abrupt and hard and loud, and will just blurt out your case is hopeless or stuff like that. So, but in talking with Dr. H, I broached several thoughts of what all this could mean, including that God knows that I could end up in worse condition after a surgery, or that my bones not being good enough would be a calamity, to have rods screwed in them and then not have them hold. That I don't know, that God may prefer that I lose mobility. And I pointed out to Dr. H that it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have a viable life or a life with purpose. There's lots of people in wheelchairs with colostomies and catheters, at young ages. So we just don't know. And I did text Dr. H after this thing in the pain doctor's office, this massive turn of events. And I had no tip off from the nurse's voicemail to me that she had left when I was finishing up my conversation with Dr. H. Just very sweetly, "Oh, I need to talk to you about your surgery this Thursday. Please call me back." And so, yeah, it was stunning. It was stunning, but I'm just more used to knowing how God has changed things in my life like this before. So it's not a first time for me. I mean, it is with anything to do with medical thing. And why I felt so strongly and intensely reacted with a distrust regarding the osteopenia. I can get that way. Sometimes souls, when I meet some, and usually it's right on. Usually the vibes are right on. But I'm always open. I think when we're discerning spirits, we always have to remain open. That maybe there was something in us, or the devil was using us. That's part of discernment of spirits. And as I wrote in my note to the pain doctor, maybe I was deceived, because I certainly had been accusing of some of the wrongdoings that were throwing me off and making me wonder if this surgery was meant to be with that particular surgeon or his group. But I said, all I can do is pray to discern spirits, and then wait and try to do my best in discerning the spirits. And I think that's probably how it is the rest of my life, that I just have to do my best, pray, and then, try to navigate through until something happens. It's very clear cut. But now I have to understand, I'm supposed to go to this surgeon Monday, this other one. I expect it to be maybe 5 minutes or less. Who knows? I may be tarred and feathered out of the office, because all this stuff will be in the computer system. He'll read what this nurse had said, which wasn't true, but I don't plan to defend myself. I just don't. At most, I might say, well, there's always two sides, but I probably won't say much of anything. I'm just going to let God lead that whole thing, which is what I need to do all the time. And we try to cooperate, but in this case, I think it's time for silence from me regarding that. And then Tuesday, I'm in with this excellent clinic for osteohealth. So that all flowed very well. And I was just getting ready to cancel all these other appointments, thinking, well, I'm doing everything they want. I'll just have the surgery, and God will do with the surgery whatever he wills. So that was how everything got turned around. My son is very upset. haven't they been telling you you could be paralyzed at any point? I said, well, yes, but actually I'd felt better for a couple of days. I'm feeling worse today, but just because I get this way, I did quite a bit yesterday. I'm tired, get tired, and I try to pretend like I don't have this added pain problem, but I do. I have this added condition, even though my nearly 96-year-old aunt is praying that I'll just be pain-free and be able to sit. I don't have the heart to tell her the things that the Lord has shared with me over the years, and that while on earth I'm going to have earthly pain, and that I'm a victim soul. She would not understand that. She's Protestant. And I also think, well, that's a wonderful prayer, because God can change his mind anytime he wants. He's a God of surprises, and it'd be great if he wants to surprise me by having my stenosis just miraculously go away, or whatever way he wants to surprise me. I'm open for anything that the Lord wants. And that's why, and Dr. H called me yesterday afternoon because I had texted him of what had happened. And he said, well, your voice sounds really good. And I said, oh, yeah. And so we talked more, and he had sent me a text last night then. He said, what a gift it is to be able to have alternate views. And he had told me on the phone, just to be able to have such a spiritual view is so helpful. And it is, because I practically can get excited for what the Lord is going to do next, even if no one in this whole area will operate on me. Maybe the Lord wants me to have time to get my bones built up some, or still, maybe he wants me to experience wheelchair life. It certainly, as I told Dr. H, I said it will stop my penchant for gardening or for construction. I have a camera I wanted to learn, he probably wants me to write and maybe do these videos, I don't know, because I have so much of the spiritual realm that I could share. However, I do know that as part of the Catholic culture, there's sort of a bias against sharing of the mystical. But I think even if there's just 5 people out there who also have mystical experiences and feel like they have to crawl into a shell, or priests have, given them the, what do they call it, be the devil's advocate treatment, it doesn't really do any good. The thing that's done me the most good is reading books on mystics and saints and learning from them. And in our time period, video and writing blogs are, I guess, what do they call it, social media or something. That's how it helps people, or people are more interested in that than reading old books that I've had to collect. From even Oxford, England, I get some from there. I've stopped buying them. I have plenty. But, yeah, we'll see. Anyway, discernment of spirits, and we have to really be able to turn on a dime. And I have had my doubts. I have thought, was the devil using me? Did I somehow, was I in the wrong? But I am relieved I don't have to lie, in essence, or deceive by agreeing to something that I know I was going to cancel on. So the Lord has spared me that. And we'll just see what happens. Anyway, I've taped off woodwork in the priest's room upstairs. I have each of the rooms in this hermitage are dedicated. So I'm in the priest's room. I hadn't been doing that. All this other was so distracting to me. So I'm getting ready to paint trim, but I'm going to go out in a little bit when it's cooler and maybe try to plant 1 or 2 things depending on my pain level. But we'll see what happens next. I'm supposed to go back to the pain doctor next Thursday and report. And boy, I'm telling you, I'm going to be like a snail retracting its proboscis. Um, I am going to learn how to be very, very still. What is that? Wise as a serpent and silent as a dove. Does it go that way? Is that how that scripture goes? But I get excited. I know it's hard to change habits and ways of being, and I get exuberant and so trusting. And I'll even say, now, is this too much for you to somebody? Oh, no, no. But then it turns out, oh my gosh, they were freaked out, or it was too much. So, but we'll try again. That's hope. And faith is so crucial. So I'm going to write on my blog some about that. I think I posted it already. Somebody, not knowing about all this situation, had sent me a commentary by St. Columbanus or something like that, 5th century. I'm going to look up more of his life, but it was just perfect on faith, on having faith that does much more than disputation or logical reasoning with words or things like that. So faith is how we get through life and have knowledge of the unknown through faith. God bless His real presence in us.